Good morning from Old Bloke Crypto on January 27th, 2024, just after the close. Interesting things could be happening this weekend. And go over them on the low time frame for Bitcoin, Ether, and the wider market. And of course, look at the more important high time frame. But as I've said earlier on Twitter, today, the low time frame indicators, there's some very interesting things happening. First of all, we look at our liquidity chart. One of them anyway, and this here is these crosses are the parabolic SAR, which stands for support and resistance. It's a trend indicator, and as you'll see here, it's pointing up, but also these liquidation bubbles here are giving you an idea of where the relative liquidations are placed, is trending upwards as well. So they're just some little indicators to start with. I'll get into the more important ones now. But this can go parabolic. It continues to curve up. So I'm just watching this on the 1 hour time frame. Okay, so we go across, and this is what I wanted to particularly discuss today. I'm looking at ETH first, and I'll get on to more important, as always, Bitcoin. Now, the yellow, get rid of this one here. The yellow indicator is the 200 EMA, the 1 hour time frame we're looking at. The blue indicator, the blue line, is the 50 EMA. Notice when they cross. And I've gone back here as far as Bybit will allow me on this particular chart, which is about 3 months. Now, and you'll see here, when they cross, what happens? The 50s cross the 200, the upside, price goes up. Crosses to the downside, price goes down. Crosses to the upside, price goes up, and so on and so forth. Now, watching this here we go here, crosses and prices coming down. And then this is a particularly stark one. You'll see here it's below, equivocates and crosses over, confirms, and look at that. All right, so there's an example. And then, in more recent times, back to the downside. And here we are now. So that is Ethereum. We go to King Bitcoin. Same. About as far as I can go back there. But you'll see the same principle of the 50 and the 200 EMAs oscillating around each other. And then here's the recent one where we had that recent big downtrend. It's crossed over, and down she comes. Have a look what's about to happen very shortly if things continue. This is the H1, don't forget, just reminding you about that. There's the 50 and there's the 200. Now this is a sentinel, what I call a sentinel indicator, which it's a good indicator. It's an indicator of things to come. It's a solid indicator, not on it. You never use an indicator on its own, but it's one of the ones, the early ones that I pay attention to is the H1 on Bitcoin, and secondly Ethereum, when the 50 crosses the 2MA. And that could happen this weekend. Obviously, two things there. As I've said, you never look at an indicator or use an indicator to trade on its own. Secondly, is that it's got to confirm. So not only does it need to come up here and cross the 200, but it's got to confirm that it's going to stay above the 200. So we'll be watching that through the course of the weekend. And institutions don't trade on the weekends. And so weekends can be a very fraught time to make any major trades anyway. And this is a chart I made earlier and posted on Twitter, and it shows it more clearly here. There's your 50 EMA, there's the 200 EMA, and they're coming together. The 12 and the 21 are already above the 200. Great. But this is really the one that you're looking at because it is the more reliable indicator and I've checked this over a long period of time, and it's very reliable as an early indicator. All right, let's look at the liquidity charts. And this is what I was saying about weekends is you've got to be very careful. Have a look at this on the 1 day. We just had a little bump from Bitcoin sitting at currently 41,750. Have a look at all the long liquidity piled in there. Look where the price action. I'll just refresh this chart. Get an idea of the up to the minute price action on the 1 day. And look how close that is. Right, bumping up against it. There's lots of people that are got lots of hopium that they're breathing in that it's going to push up. But why would it push up? Let's have a look at the liquidity of the upside. That's on the 1 day. Not very exciting. Let's have a look at the 7 day, which will be more interesting. Again, higher time frame, more valid. You'll see though, the spread is still to the downside. So yes, we could have a pump this weekend, but we could easily have a fake out to the upside and a dump down as well to grab all that lovely liquidity. Look at it all the way down to 38,000, which many people are saying is going to be this The stop for this bear, short-term bear phase, maybe, might get down to 35. But anyway, the point is beware of this sort of thing, because liquidity, the price chasing liquidity. And as I said, big boys trade during the week, institutions. Weekends, obviously not so much. But it's just something to take notice of, is that it's not all unicorns, rainbows and roses that we're all going to go up. The price is all going to go up. We need those confirmations first, and to look at contraindications such as the liquidity charts. Now let's look at ETH. And you'll see the same thing, 7-day spread pretty wide. Interestingly, you've got more to the upside, more liquidity to the upside. And I'm going to have a look at the ETH BTC chart in a minute, which is going to be a contraindication to this fella. So we see here, 7-day, let's have a look at the 1-day. Who's piling in where? And the longs are piling in, not as much as Bitcoin, but they are there. You'll see them down to around that. You see this was cleared out earlier. Had a bit of a squeeze to the upside, the short squeezing squeeze. There's still plenty of them up there though. But the longs obviously have it for the day. So again, just like with Bitcoin, the longs on Ethereum are saying that the price is going to go up. I'm looking for the pull to the upside, and in these particular charts, as far as liquidity goes, in the short term, so this weekend, there's not much to confirm that. Let's have a look at ETH BTC, and this is what I've been talking about in the last few days as the previous bull flag had broken right down. There's our 50 EMA, very crucial, and we're down below that 1.054 now, ETH to BTC, and 0.055 is the 50 EMA. And you see here it's gone down, crossed down below. And today we're going to see what happens, because if it confirms with a lower low and lower high, for example, or it comes up and tests the 50 EMA and rejects again, well, that's not looking good for ETH, which is my main trade. Better for BTC, of course. But we shall see. But again, the weekend, and this is looking at it on the daily, which is obviously the higher the time frame, the more valid. It is something that would be a watch and look on. So whilst it's nice, and I'll go back to this ETH chart here, and we'll go back to the daily, we're currently on 2276. Who doesn't like to see a green candle? I know everybody does. But let's be sensible here. We're looking at the 1 day, the higher time frame, and as I said, more valid time frame. Here's our 50 EMA resistance, currently sitting at 2309. We're not far below it, but we certainly haven't closed yesterday above it. And who knows what's going to happen today? We could push into it. We could see a rejection tomorrow. We could push through it. But as I said, ETH BTC is pretty weak at the moment and in a descending trend line. So we certainly wouldn't be taking any new long positions or adding to my high time frame long at the moment. No way. Recently, I took a low time frame short scalp, which I shared on Twitter. I'm not doing that either this weekend. I'm just looking on, seeing what happens, and watching the charts. And look on, watch on, and wait for next week until the big boys come back into it and decide to show their hands. So there's ETH, there's Bitcoin, obviously closer to breaking across that 50 EMA, but just watching this weekend to see what happens, ready for, hopefully, a breakout to the upside next week. Who doesn't love a green candle? This is Old Bloke Crypto coming to you on YouTube and on Twitter. This is not financial advice, never is. Have a safe weekend. If you trade safely, and I will talk to you next week.